At 17 years old, I walked away from a full-ride scholarship to UCLA to drink ayahuasca and study plant medicine. 13 years later, 3,000 cups of ayahuasca, motherhood, and a multi-million-dollar company. The evidence is clear. It was the best decision I could have ever made. I chose to claim back my life that day, no longer living for my parents or for my grandparents. If you're ready to live your life for you and owe it to no one, I promise to show you how by the end of today's video. My name is Mariah Ganessa. I'm the co-founder of 4 Visions, and I was initiated into my spiritual path by Indigenous grandmothers and grandfathers. I spent the last decade of my life living in Colombia, studying and working with Indigenous communities in the Amazon jungle. Through my platform, 4 Visions, we have given over $1.2 million back to the Indigenous communities that we are in partnership with. Today, I'm going to share a little bit about my journey, how I got here, some of the biggest lessons that I learned along the way to becoming a medicine woman in the modern world. And at the end, I'm going to invite you on a journey of a lifetime. So make sure to watch the end so you don't miss it. Before we begin, I just want to take a moment to give thanks to Creator, to all of creation, and to the spirits of nature for this day, for this gift, for the opportunity to be here sharing with you. Thank you to you as well and to your ancestors for being here in this path and walking with devotion and love to nature and to life itself. Just giving thanks and honoring this moment to my ancestors and to the ancestors and the guardians of the Yahe. Thank you. So much is happening in the world right now. It feels heavy to be a human and to be alive. We're being fed so much artificial creation, distortion, and illusion that sometimes it just feels like we're swimming in an ocean of fakeness and falsities, looking for something to grab onto and to hold onto that is true. We're deeply craving as a collective consciousness, life-giving nourishment and ways of being. And in my journey, the biggest ally and way that I have been able to come back to the truth is through nature. And so this is my journey of how I came back home, back to the beginning, to my origin, and to the origin of life, and how I rediscovered what it means to be alive. Let's get into it. I grew up in Northern California, and I had a very privileged middle-class upbringing. And at the same time, I was in deep suffering by the time I was 16 years old. It wasn't the suffering of poverty or of homelessness or of war, which are other beasts of the human condition. It was a different type of suffering, a more common type of suffering, of mental suffering, suffering of the Western psyche, I like to call it. And it's very painful. So by the time I was 16, I was experiencing pretty much everything you can think of when you think of the suffering of a 16-year-old girl. I had extreme body distortion and a deep self-loathing and disconnection with my body and a hatred of my physical body image. I had deep resentment and anger towards my parents, really because I just felt so misunderstood and out of place in this life that I had been given. I was deeply seeking external validation and had been convinced that the only way to feel worthy was through achievement and success and external validation from other people, because I certainly didn't feel my own self-worth. And I also was overly focused on the male gaze and just external validation from young men, and really disconnected from my feminine power. So all of this, coupled with a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety and burnout, left me feeling extremely alone and depressed, and a tremendous amount of sadness. By the time I was 16, I had graduated at the top of my class from high school with a full ride to UCLA. And I was on my way to fulfilling the dream that I had been sold and had fully bought into, and entering the rat race. And I was going to become a doctor or a lawyer to do some good in the world so that I could prove to myself that I was worth something, because I didn't believe I was worth anything as I was. And I was all ready to go, prepared to go that fall to continue hustling, studying, learning, walking this path that had been set up for me. And that summer before college, my life changed forever. My older brother invited me to go to a plant medicine ceremony. And we took this really sweet brother-sister road trip up the coast, up through Oregon and Washington. And we went to this very beautiful place, an island off the coast of Seattle called Whidbey Island. And it's an island that truly feels like it's from another world, a portal into another dimension. And I remember when I got off the ferry and I stepped onto this island, my heart started beating loudly in my chest, and I was filled with anticipation and excitement, and I just knew something big was going to happen for me that day and in that journey. And I went and participated in this ceremony and drank this medicine that I had just heard of and didn't fully understand. And in this plant medicine ceremony, I had a very powerful experience where I experienced life for the first time, true living, being alive for the first time in many years. I remember opening my eyes on the medicine, and I felt like I was a fairy. And for a girl who was deeply disconnected to herself and to nature, to her imagination, to her creativity, this was an extremely transformational experience to feel magic. And I opened my eyes and I saw these beautiful rivers, running, flowing waters around me, and lush greenery, and life was just pulsing through me and breathing a spiritual oxygen into my soul, into my heart, and I could breathe. I took this deep breath, and I just remember for the first time in many years feeling alive, feeling joy. I felt joy, and it was like part of me woke up and remembered what it was like to be alive. Because for so many years I had been living a life of no color. It was completely black and white. It was like I was numb. It was like I was just watching the movie of my life pass by me. And so this experience changed my life dramatically in a very potent way. And I think that the best way to put words to how this experience shaped me is that it gave me a compass. It gave me a feeling as a reference point. And that reference point became the guide for many years of searching on my spiritual path, because I had that to refer to and to know that that was possible, to live and feel so alive and connected and inspired. And that's really when my life changed forever. I woke up and left the ceremony. I went home and I realized that something had changed deep within me, but my life was still the same. And so I went to college and enrolled in school and moved to LA. And when I got there, I quickly realized that I felt extremely out of place. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. And the first thing I noticed was that I didn't have any interest in doing what any of the other college kids around me were doing. I didn't want to party. I didn't want to drink. I didn't even want to go to a football game. There was nothing that was interesting me in my classes. And looking back, I really feel that there was a part of me that was deeply yearning for my healing journey. Even though I had no idea that I needed that or that I wanted that, I didn't even know what healing was, or that maybe there was some healing that I had to do. And so there was something deep inside me that knew that this was not a fit for me. And that same compass that started guiding me really was pushing me in a different direction. And so I took a leap of faith. I left the known and I plunged myself into a complete unknown. And I left school. I remember the day that I told my parents and my grandparents that I was leaving. I broke my parents' heart that day. I think it was the hardest for my grandparents because for them, they really thought I was throwing my life away. They couldn't really conceptualize another path besides university. This was back in 2013, and college was really the societal norm for all the kids that I had gone to school with. Even the concept of a gap year was really rare. And then on top of it, my grandparents were a different generation. They didn't have the same access to the resources that I had. And so I remember it was incredibly difficult for them to support me. They were really concerned. They were deeply, deeply worried for me. And that was a very pivotal moment in my process of becoming who I am, because that day and that decision was the first time I ever made a decision for myself, from my heart, for the life that I wanted to live. And I never looked back. I actually have not spent one day regretting the decision I made. And my life has just continued to unfold in the most magnificent ways since I took that first decision and chose to listen to my heart. And so that is a lesson that I think is fundamental in our path of embodiment and empowerment, to really be able to choose our lives, to claim our lives, and no matter our conditioning or the stories we've been sold, at the end of the day, you only have one life and it's yours. And if you live it for anyone but you, you will regret it. And so perhaps it was naivety, perhaps it was immaturity, but it sounds like it would have been really scary for me to make that decision. It really wasn't so scary because I wasn't really thinking about my future. I wasn't thinking about what my career path would be like without a college degree. All I was thinking about was looking for what it means to be alive and trying to find purpose, trying to find out why I was here, and waking up from this dream I had been living in for the first 16 years of my life. And so it was a very liberating process for me and a very exciting moment. I remember just being in a state of exploration and curiosity and awakening, this thirst for learning that actually I hadn't had in many years on my academic path, because I wasn't learning the things that my soul was really craving to learn. So I remember I dived super deep into health and wellness and learning about how to care for my physical body. I dived deep into yoga and ended up journeying to Nepal and India for 8 months, studying yoga and meditation, traveling to the high Himalayas to study with yogis and masters, and taking Vipassana courses, and just doing a really deep dive into self-exploration. And it was very nourishing, very exciting and beautiful and freeing. And when I came back from That journey, I started drinking medicine in a community in California, and I was learning and studying with a Western teacher, drinking ayahuasca. And this was a very beautiful experience. It was deeply powerful. I started to really understand what path I had chosen to walk a spiritual path. And I started to really kind of understand a little bit more about what spirituality is, and started to mature a little bit more into the path. And as that process unfolded, I started to feel a little bit of discomfort and uncomfortability in the fact that I was drinking this Amazonian plant medicine in the US with non-Indigenous and Western people. And for me, there was something that was really just starting to become really clear, that I was deeply feeling called to go more to the origin of this medicine and seek a lineage and a container where I could experience the tradition and go deeper into my studies. I was really, really just inspired and excited to have found this medicine that finally was awakening my passion. I hadn't felt like passion for so many years. So there was just this natural searching that was taking place for me, and it brought me to Colombia. And so I prayed for a teacher for some time, and I really set that intention to the universe, asking for this experience. And then it opened up, and I was invited to go down to Colombia. And I went down, and I was about 18, so about 12 years ago was when I met my teacher for the first time. And he was a Ingano Taita from the Ingano tribe, and he's a medicine man and a botanist and a healer. And I sat with him and I met the yahe for the first time. And the yahe is the Colombian form of ayahuasca. It's the same vine, but instead of the chacruna leaf, which is used in the Peruvian and Brazilian traditions, the Colombian cultures utilize chagropanga. And so the formula is a little different, and the yahe itself is a very unique medicine. It's very thick. I remember drinking it for the first time after drinking Santo Daime, which is a Brazilian form of ayahuasca, for a few years in the US. So when I first drank that thick cup of yahe, I was like, what is this? And also at that same time, my whole spirit, my entire body said, this is what I've been looking for. I found it. And it was this very potent encounter and complete affirmation in my whole being that I was home. I had found what I had been searching for. And it was a very beautiful process to meet the yahe. I fell in love with the whole culture, the medicine itself, the tradition, the teachings, the community, the Indigenous family, the Ingano community that I met and really welcomed me in and took me in. And the music too, the Icaros and the songs, all of it was just like, it was like I had heard it before. It felt like it was a remembering process, and I felt like I had come home. And so within the yahe, I found a spiritual path and a container to begin a healing journey. And that's really what ensued. And I entered into a process of many years of study, of growth, of diet, of learning and exploration. And the yahe gave me back my life. It was really just this beautiful process of remembering, and I received so many teachings, so many lessons that have become deeply ingrained into the way that I perceive life. And so I'm so grateful to God for bringing me to the medicine and to the culture of the yahe. It would take many more years before it really became my path. The first few years was really an exploration and, seeing if it was right for me. There was so many doubts that surfaced as is common when one commits to something. And so with each confrontation of doubt of, is this really for me, came a deepening and arriving into another phase of integration of my commitment to the medicine. And the first few years really provided some fundamental teachings and healing as I sat at the feet of my grandmothers and grandfathers and elders and had the opportunity to really learn more from them how they viewed life and start to perceive the differences of the life that I had been taught versus this different perspective, an indigenized version of how to view life versus a colonized version of how to perceive life. And so I was deep in this study, and one of the first studies and initiations for me was with the path of womanhood, because I was really a girl still when I met the Yahe. And I remember my family in Colombia, they adopted me. They really took me under their wing and they treated me like a daughter because I was. And they were so surprised, like, what is this 18-year-old white girl doing in Colombia all by herself? And so they were really just so loving and caring for me and made me feel so at home. And through this process, I started to really leave the girl behind and become an adult. And over the first few years, I started to study more the path of womanhood with my grandmothers and find myself and heal myself. I learned so much about the lies that we had been sold as young girls and women in Western society, as I slowly, little by little, came back to the origin and the traditional ways of caring for my womb, for my blood, for my body, for my heart. I went through deep investigations of the feminine power and what is the feminine power and how to uncover it within myself. And I became the first woman in perhaps more than 500 years in my lineage to know these ways again and to carry these practices with me. And so it was a very potent and healing process and journey back home to myself. I found forgiveness and I found reconciliation for my mother, for all the pain and the wounds that she passed on to me unknowingly. And I found love, honor, and reverence for the womb of my mother, my origin, even if she couldn't find that in herself. And so there was a very beautiful weaving taking place for me, resourcing from this design that was not my birthright, but somehow I found myself thousands of miles away from my family, my place of birth, my origin, oceans away from the lands of my ancestors. And it was as though my spirit, my soul had really taken this journey, this voyage to arrive in the sacred lands of Colombia to resource myself with the information that my spirit needed to come home and to remember and to heal. And I believe that there are many paths that lead to the same place. I could have found this healing through the yogic path or through meditation. I could have found this through religion. And I believe that each soul has a formula in their design of origin for their return back to their essence, back to their beginning. And for me, it was written in the stars that I would find it in the Yahe. And so what unfolded was this beautiful process of finding myself within a culture that was not mine by birthright, but over time started to become mine as it wove into the fibers of my being and rippled out into my life and to my lineage. I realized that this healing that I was doing was not just for me. It was for my mothers, my grandmothers and grandfathers. It was for all the women that came before me in the weaving of my tapestry of my lineage that allowed me to be here. And the very best way that I could honor them and give reverence to them and my origin was through my healing. And this was a very potent moment in my becoming because I no longer felt like an imposter. I no longer doubted my place amidst these Indigenous communities and traditions. And I started to really open myself to allow the Yahe to weave within my heart and spirit and come into me and really find a place within my path and root itself into my path and my essence. So as I was studying and learning with my teacher and working with these incredible wisdom carriers, another lesson that I learned was of caution, of the spiritual ego. I learned humility and I learned discipline. These were things that I really wasn't given in my upbringing and in my conditioning. I wasn't raised to honor my elders. I didn't really have a reference point for what that even meant. And at 18 and 19, when I first started drinking Yahe with feathers in my hair and teeth necklaces and seeds, I just wanted to be a shaman. And I thought I was very much on my way. And I had a lot of ego. It was innocent, I didn't know any better. But the Yahe aligned me and humbled me and gave me a good orientation, which is another very important lesson to anyone walking a spiritual path. For me, it didn't come in one big teaching. It was more over a period of a few years. But what happened is I started drinking medicine. I started working with these taitas, and all of a sudden, I was at their side, translating for them, for their retreats and immersions. I was assisting them in the healings and the ceremonies. And I was also facilitating and bridging the communities to these Western participants and really supporting in that container and holding space for the people to come and experience the culture of the medicine. And so it happened very quickly. And we started working with a lot of participants. At one point, we were seeing 1,000 people a year in our ceremonies. And so we started to kind of have a little bit of notoriety and I was started to be known in my community as, you know, one of the Taita's main assistants and helpers, translators, facilitators, and it went to my head. I really thought I was all that. And my teacher, he never scolded me or put me in my place. Because that's not how the School of Yahe is. The School of Yahe is a school of life, and we learn by falling on our face and getting back up and wiping ourselves off and walking forward with a little bit more humility. And that's what happened. And so, you know, multiple moments gave me this opportunity to be thrown into the washing machine of life and to really fall hard and experience everything that comes with a good fall: shame, embarrassment, doubt, confusion, just utter desire to completely disappear. And I had to face all of that But each time I came out of those processes, I was a little bit more grounded in my path and who I was and how much I really knew. And I started to really respect my elders because I started to see, wow, these people have sustained good living for decades. They have seen it all. They have been through the fire countless times, and they're still standing. They're still here helping us, accompanying us, sharing with us their wisdom. And this really was so beautiful because it also taught me so much about the spiritual path. And at that point, I was maybe 4 years, 5 years into my journey. And, I thought like I had learned pretty much everything I was gonna learn. I was almost graduated, all my friends were graduating from high school or from college at that moment. And so I was watching them go off into the world. And so still my Western psyche was still so attached to this idea of achievement and completion, certification, all those things, titles, And so I really struggled and battled with my ego for many years before finally settling in to this real understanding of what it means to walk a spiritual path, what it means to sustain a spiritual path, and what my grandfathers and grandmothers had been teaching me for all those years about really just putting one step after the other, walking with firmness, with faith, with commitment, placing everything, placing our life at the feet of the Creator and asking for direction and guidance every step of the way. Little by little, this really came through for me, and I started to feel a little bit more grounded and integrated and rooted into the path. No longer was I searching for anything. I was just walking. And in that, there was a big release of heaviness that came from me and pressure that I had been putting on myself. And I just started going deeper and deeper into the path of joy, into the path of presence, and really shifted my whole approach in many ways. When I was about 20, I received the vision for 4 visions. It came to me in a plant medicine ceremony, in a yahe ceremony, and the name came really strong. And the idea of how I could maybe share and support my Colombian family just came. And so I brought it to my elders, and first they prayed over it. They placed it into the yahe and consulted the medicine to see if the path would be open for me to take this project on. And they came back to me and they gave me their blessing. And so when I first began this journey, I never started out to start a business. It was really just very organic. Every time I would go and work with my teachers, I would bring back medicines and ceremonial beadwork jewelry and traditional artwork, and I would share it with my friends and family when I came back to California. And it was really beautiful because, this was before you could find this type of artwork and tools in the US so commonly. They were very rare and beautiful pieces, and they really grabbed people's attention, and people really resonated with it. And so I was really easily able to sell those first suitcases that I brought back. And then it made me so happy to go to my teacher and be able to give him this financial compensation for the artwork and support their family in this way. And they were super happy and grateful. And so it really affirmed to me that I was doing something good. And it started really organically, really just, again, following my heart, doing something beautiful and not having expectations. And then over time, we started growing and expanding. We branched out and started making other connections and partnerships with other Indigenous communities. We now work with communities in Brazil, Peru, Guatemala, Mexico, and Colombia. And we started growing in a really beautiful, natural way. My partner at the time, he had a business background and a marketing background, and he brought this masculine container that really catalyzed the evolution of the project. And we started together the company and the project at that time, the initiative. Carlos is the father of my child, and we started weaving this really beautiful process together. In 2020, things changed for us with the journey with Four Visions. The pandemic hit, and at that point, our Indigenous partners came to us, and they were in a moment of stress because the borders closed. And for most of our Indigenous communities, the way that they were sustaining their villages was through immersions and retreats and festivals in which they would open their villages up to Westerners, and through the income that they received through those events, they would be able to sustain their villages and communities. And so when the borders closed and there was no clear idea of when they would open again, our partners came to us and they really just expressed that they were in a moment of insecurity, of financial insecurity. And they asked us if we could buy more products. That was a really pivotal moment for us because up until that point, we had really just been growing and sharing Four Visions very naturally. But when they asked that of us, we really reviewed and something opened up, and we came back to them and we said, yes, we have a way to do this. But in order to do this, we have to start running this project like a business. We have to be able to scale the company. We have to be able to treat it like a company. We have to be able to market these medicines, and we need your permission to do that. We also needed their support to be able to tell the stories of these medicines and their traditions in a good way, and in a way that honored the origin and original context of these ancestral botanicals. And they said yes. They gave us their blessing, and it was this beautiful moment where everything opened up, and we dived deep into the path of entrepreneurship. It was really like that turning point where things really shifted. And remember, I didn't have any sort of business background. And so I dived deep into learning how to run a business and studying and taking courses, learning marketing, learning and being mentored by Carlos, who had a plethora of knowledge from his previous life. And so little by little, we started building this organization into what it is today. It's important to note that my path of spiritual entrepreneurship has never been separate from my spiritual path. And for a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, that's not the case. They tend to compartmentalize. They go out and make their money, and then they use that to fund and nourish their spiritual studies. But for me, it never was natural to do that. It always felt integral and one and the same. And as I was learning how to become a CEO and a leader, I really started to get very excited about the teachings and the spiritual growth that was happening for me as I grew this business. And so being an entrepreneur has given me so many teachings and helped me to really grow in so many ways. And I think that part of why it was always one and the same for me is because also of the nature of the medicines and the products that we were sharing. And there was a level of responsibility that was on my shoulders as the steward of this platform. I had a tremendous amount of responsibility to our Indigenous partners, to ensure that their traditions and cultures were being represented in a good way. Tremendous amount of responsibility to the plants to ensure that as we entered these uncharted waters of the globalization of plant medicine, that we did so in a way that honors the sacredness of these healing plants. And a tremendous amount of responsibility towards my team and my employees, their families, and their livelihoods. And of course, every decision that we made also impacted you and impacts our community and the many people all over the world that are part of this global plant medicine community. And so it came with a lot of influence, and that has been beautiful. And with our influence also has increased our impact and really allowed us to play a role and have a voice in the shaping of the plant medicine space and that growing niche industry. And it also came with a deep spiritual responsibility to really understand what it means to be in integrity. Every decision that we made has been always guided by the medicines themselves, has always been placed at the altar and has been prayed over by our wisdom keepers and our elders. Because along the way, there's been many moments where big decisions had to be made. And these were pivotal moments for us as an organization and also for me personally, as I was faced with decisions that could potentially shape in a large way how the Western world was consuming and working with plant medicines. And so it gave me the opportunity to really understand what it means to be a bridge between cultures. And it taught me so many lessons about reciprocity, about giving back, about right relationship, and what it means to engage in mutually beneficial cultural sharing. I'm very proud of what we've built through Four Visions, and it really came through a deep study. There was nothing to replicate, so everything that we built really came from the practice of investigation, of learning, of listening to our Indigenous partners and to the original lineage carriers of these medicines. Before Four Visions, up until that point, I was a medicine carrier working with medicines. And then through Four Visions, I've been given this opportunity and great responsibility to entrust others in being medicine carriers. And so there's been so many teachings that have come through this process. And I'm deeply grateful for the opportunities that I've been given through the path of entrepreneurship and through building Four Visions. Simultaneously, as I was growing Four Visions, I continued to study with the medicine and continued to deepen my journey in the diets, spending a lot of time immersed in the jungles of the Amazon, studying and learning from my elders and receiving their medicine and their teachings. And little by little, the Yahe really became a part of me. And I mentioned this before, but it's a process of cultivation. It's a process that comes after many years. It's a process of patience and an ever-expanding journey. And so it was at that moment, everything just seemed like it was so good. And I was so fulfilled. I was walking my path. I had found my purpose. I was living my dream and really just diving deep into my spirituality, my studies, my service to the world. And I didn't want anything to ever change. It was just so good. I wanted things to stay the same forever. It was at that time when things changed in a big way for me, because that's how it is. It's the one constant. Nothing stays the same. And I didn't know it, but I was in for the roller coaster of my life. So when I was 25, I discovered that I was pregnant for the first time, and I was at a major crossroads upon discovering that, because I felt scared. I felt like I wasn't ready to become a mother. I felt like I had so much more that I wanted to do before I had children. And it was also a really uncomfortable time because my relationship with my son's father was not stable, and we were in a really rocky moment, and so there was a lot of unknown there for me. But through that, I really felt clear in the deepest parts of my body that this child was choosing me and Carlos for a reason. He was choosing us as his parents, and it was so clear and apparent that he wanted to come, and he wanted to come now. And so in that moment, my life changed forever again, and I chose to walk forward in that path and dive deep into what would become the deepest, most potent part of my healing journey thus far. And it really was all of the work that I had done up until that point, all of my studies, was just a preparation to pass through this initiation into motherhood. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. When I was about 6 months pregnant, Carlos and I separated, and I had to really let go of everything that I had dreamed of creating a family and what my family would look like. And it was a very challenging time for me. And I really, felt so much. I really went deep into the deepest parts of my shadow, my darkness, my fears. And I really let myself kind of go into all of that, all of my story of abandonment, and really just feel all of it. And through that process of heartbreak and in my pregnancy, I received so much medicine. And then I began my diet of pregnancy and birth. And in the Yahe culture, we enter into a 9-month diet, which is the second 2 trimesters of pregnancy and the first trimester of postpartum. And so for 9 months, we're in a very spiritual container for the study and transition into motherhood, working with plants and not working with the Yahe, away from the Yahe. And it was a moment of deep journeying into the depths of everything that was still unresolved for me, everything that hadn't been tended to. And somehow, from somewhere deep within me, I found the strength to walk through that portal. And it was a moment where, I really had to choose to let go of being a victim, and whatever final threads of victimhood lay still within my blood and bones, I had to release them once and for all to be able to become the mother that I needed to be for my child. And thank God to the plants and to my grandmothers and to my sisters who accompanied me on my journey, and to the incredible wisdom carriers who stewarded me through that incredible journey of pregnancy and birth, and to my son's father who loved me through it all and through the thick of the fire and the deepest darkness of mine. I really did have so much support to carry me through that portal, and I walked through it. I birthed my son in power on my land in Colombia, in our home, and brought him into the world surrounded by the spirits of nature and creation, and took that journey to the stars to retrieve my baby and bring him here to this plane. And the ceremony of birth was unlike anything I had ever witnessed before, experienced before. I joke that the initiation of pregnancy and birth is 10 times stronger than the strongest cup of ayahuasca prayed over by a dozen taitas or healers. And it really was that. It was the strongest cup of medicine. I died to the girl within me that was still there, present, the little girl, and I gave birth to myself as a woman. I rebirthed myself, a new version of myself, and took in a new life and welcomed a new life, my son's life and mine as well, and began that journey of motherhood, which has been the greatest blessing and gift. It's taught me how to value life and to really honor life, and that whole process taught me so much about what it means to be a woman and the gifts that we're given as givers of creation, and continues to be and will always be one of the most life-changing experiences of my life. We buried my son's placenta on our land, guarded by a guarumo tree, which is a medicinal tree for spiritual oxygen and nutrition. And I welcome my son into this world amidst a very strong process that I was going through personally. I healed myself physically from a second-degree vaginal tear by respecting the diet that my grandmothers gave to me. And I healed my heart and healed the grieving of my heartbreak as I nursed my child and brought him into his earthly body and grounded him into this world. So it was a test of all of the strength that I had cultivated up until that point on my spiritual path, and the most empowering experience too, to walk through the fire in that way and to come out the other side. And that was just the beginning, as most mothers know, because my journey of motherhood has 100% been the biggest catalyst for my spiritual growth. And over the last 5 years, I have undergone some of the most potent parts of my healing journey in my motherhood journey. I quickly recognized that I didn't want to relive my childhood by being the mother that my mother was and continuing to pass on those wounds and traumas that had been in our bloodline for generations. And I deeply wanted to become the mother that my son needed me to be. And so what ensued was a process of radical responsibility and tending to many different layers and hidden corners of my being and deep inner child healing, to really be able to put things in place and to put things in order and to find my place as a matriarch and a mother and a home tender and a nurturer. And this journey has been so beautiful, and little by little, it was a process that started out very dense. It was a study because I really approached my whole motherhood journey as a deep spiritual study. Little by little, I started to kind of liberate myself from some of the heaviness and the denseness around the deep inner work that I was doing, and liberate that burden that I had been feeling and transform that and really uncover these jewels that were there for me in the healing process. And one day I looked at myself in the mirror and I liked what I saw as a mother. I really, in that moment, felt in my being that I was becoming the mother that I knew I could be and the mother that my son needed me to be. And it was this really humbling and inspiring moment where I really felt these massive shifts and changes. And the process of motherhood, in some ways, you know, took me away from the Yahe in the ways my studies changed. They look different now. And there was a lot of changes and letting go that happened along the journey. And because I wasn't drinking medicine as frequently, I started to really have this powerful period of embodiment and integration of the teachings and finding the beauty in the mundane that really activated in me deeper joy and gratitude for life itself. And again, what the grandfathers and grandmothers had been teaching me has been with me through this process, accompanying me, teaching me how to find absolute joy and gratitude in the mundane, in the day-to-day, and to weave beauty in all parts of life. And, you know, finding myself in that place, in that state of devotion, of nurturing, of mothering, and, you know, wiping my kid's butt or making him food or cleaning the dishes. Really being able to see that as part of my spiritual path has been incredibly nourishing and really has rounded out my journey in such a potent way. I also feel that it's important to mention that when I came back to the Yahe after my 9-month diet, everything was different too, because of that process I had been through. And something really beautiful happened, something really profound, because my grandmothers always would tell me, motherhood changes you. And of course, you know, it did change me. And then when I went back to the medicine, my relationship with the medicine was so different. And my relationship to the healing process was really transformed. So when I went to sit with a participant and help them or offer a healing, I got to experience this connection because I was now a madre, and the force of the great mother poured through my being, and my healings were different. My healing work was potentialized exponentially, and it was a really magical experience to integrate the gifts of motherhood back into the Yahe and have that moment of really reaping the rewards of this deep journey that I had been on, and all of the trials and tribulations that I had passed through. And a deepening as well with my commitment to the Yahe. And at that point, it wasn't just for me. I was drinking Yahe for my ancestors and for my lineage and for my child. And it became this incredible offering of a spiritual payment. And every time that I went and studied and continue to do so, it's this great gift that I am giving to my family and to life itself. And so it really did just deepen everything for me, the path and the journey into motherhood, and tested me and brought me to my knees and humbled me and taught me so much about what it means to live life in devotion and to walk in embodiment and to live life in totality. Sister, I have been through the fire, and I'm here with you today sharing my journey because a dream seed that I have tended to close to my heart for a long time is finally ready to be birthed and is birthed. And I'm so excited and grateful to share with you that we are opening a container, a medicine woman apprenticeship called Warmi Kia, which in Ingano means woman of the moon. We are opening a 6-month spiritual study and diet for women who are ready to dive deep into their healing journey, who are committed to seeing all parts of themselves, and who truly want to walk the path of an embodied medicine woman in the modern world. This program that we have created is truly the container that I wish I had 13 years ago. And we have poured so much intention and care into how we are going to offer this journey to women. It really is magnificent, and I'm so excited to share it with you all. So the program itself is super epic. We'll be mostly working virtually together for a period of 6 months. Every month we'll be meeting together online. I'll be teaching 2 classes each month, and we'll be inviting in a grandmother or a medicine woman for a guest workshop each month as well. We also will have women's circles and a WhatsApp group for building our community of sisters as we do this deep study in womanhood together and really cultivate and support one another in the journey. There are 2 one-on-ones with me, one at the beginning and one at the end, to really support your process and accompany you on the journey and the studies. And there's also a tremendous amount of supplemental learning materials that we provide to you and to support your studies. And it's really a personal self-study and a very profound guided container held by myself and other medicine women and the grandmothers who are sharing their knowledge with us and offering themselves as resources to us to deepen our spiritual studies and embodiment. And so the container itself is really beautiful. You can also study at your own pace and watch the recordings. Everything will be provided in a recorded format as well. And then on top of that, each month you will receive a package of plant allies from 4 Visions, products that will accompany the curriculum and be plants of study, because a big part of the program is the diet, and we'll be dieting different plant allies each month, learning about the different medicines and learning how to care for ourselves and honor the different pillars of the study of womanhood, the different pillars of the medicine woman through these different plant allies that really act as bridges to the core themes of the program and the mentorship. And then in month 5, we will come together in person and take a journey that is truly a rite of passage immersion in Colombia. We'll meet together in Bogota, and we'll fly down to Putumayo, to the Amazon, to study with these grandmothers and to be together live in person for 8 nights and 9 days together, spending time immersed in the healing power of nature, swimming in the river, dancing and singing together as our ancestors have done for generations, and reactivating and remembering this ancestral wisdom that lives within us. We'll be studying making of certain medicines of the woman. We will drink medicine and receive healing ceremonies and prayer and support through the plant medicines and experience them in a deeper container, and also receive guidance and counsel from the grandmothers, one-on-one consultations, charlas, wisdom talks, and incredible activities really designed to nourish and activate the medicine woman inside each one of us. It's really going to be so magical and amazing. This is what I've been dreaming of. This is what me and my sisters have been dreaming of, and we're finally making it happen this year. And at the end of this immersion, we will leave different. We will leave as a different version of ourselves, and it's really a rite of passage in that way to meet the medicine woman within each one of us, and to activate and remember our authentic medicine, as well as to uncover the spiritual inheritance that was left to us by our grandmothers. So it's a very deep ancestral journey back to our origin, back to the beginning. And then there's a month of integration, which is the 6th month, that also is part of the virtual container. And so we really complete the program in that process of embodiment, of finding our roots, of completion, of celebration, of honoring, and opening the path to the next steps on our journey. And so this 6-month container, it's an apprenticeship. It's not a certification, so there won't be any fancy certificate or title that you get from doing this. And the reason is everything that I just shared over the last hour, where this is not what the spiritual path is about. And this program is designed for women who are sincere, who are committed, who understand and want to walk the path of the medicine woman in the modern world, and who want to do it in a good way, and to be guided by grandmothers and elders and wisdom keepers who have spiritual sustenance to pour into our hearts and into our minds. And so I hope you join us, and I hope we meet together in person and get to take this incredible journey together. It's going to be magnificent and so special, and I promise you, you will love the version of yourself at the end of this journey and the end of this commitment, this spiritual diet, and this deep initiation. And that's all I'll share for now, because we are saving all of the details for our official launch. Doors open for registration on May 3rd, and there's about a week of a pretty significant early bird price. So make sure to click the link below in this video to sign up for the wait list, so that you'll be the first to hear when we open the doors for registration. And I really pray that we can meet together for this voyage and this beautiful remembering process that we are preparing to embark on together as women of the earth and women of this sacred spiritual path. And so with that, I will leave you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I pray that this sharing was supportive for you, that you received some jewels of inspiration or some seeds of wisdom through me sharing a little bit about my journey and some of the biggest teachings I've learned along the way. And I hope to see you very soon. May God bless you. May Goddess guard you, protect you, and accompany you always.